Alright, technically we are here today to watch Delial vs. Stuff for TTAC, but in actuality, and the reason I'm starting this before the game starts, we're going to use this as an excuse to talk about King of Kong, which I just watched for the first time, and I was thoroughly amused by. This was kind of the OG competitive video game documentary. I recently got into following classic Tetris, and occasionally mentions that the first world championship was somewhat inspired by earlier game competition type documentaries, with the premier one being King of Kong. So, if you've never heard of it, that's what we're going to be talking about today. And if you're familiar with it, you'll probably have, opinions on what I say. That said, if the game starts, we're going to pay some attention to that. So, King of Kong, I don't remember the exact order of the start. I watched it over a few days, but it introduces us to a few characters. The core game is going to be the original arcade Donkey Kong. So, the game where you are an as yet, I believe, unnamed Mario trying to jump towards Donkey Kong, who is throwing barrels down various stuff at you. I have, I think, touched this game maybe once in my life and immediately died. Seemed difficult. The movement mechanics seemed hard. The hitboxes of stuff seemed difficult. There is a timer that you have to get to the top before a certain amount of time. There are some number of levels. I think they said around 20. Could be wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. That's okay. When have I ever? So the first character they introduce us to, this is not true, but I want to start with the first character we're introduced to is Walter Day. Walter Day proudly wears a black and white referee outfit. He is the video game referee. He talks about being a transcendental meditation guy and how video games and competition in video games and the greatness of great video game players gives him a similar feeling. Okay. What's going on? Uh, I don't see one of the cards. Deli's messaging that it's broken. I'm going to reply to that message. I also do not see this card. Is this an unfair advantage or unfair disadvantage? Who knows? You can see stuff has gone very traditional with double opposites. There's a bunch of steps limiting your use of stuff, but he's going for, 6-6 are good, but you're only allowed so many 6-6s. 7-5s are good. Note there's no plus wall, so 6-6s might be a little less good than usual. But 7-5-4s and 6-6-3-2s are traditionally the best cards on level 3. And then his fifth card is something else. Deli, on the other hand, we have no idea what he's gone for. He does seem to have gone for two 6-6 opposites. He has also gone for a 6-5-5-1 as his last card. He's gone for a 7-5-4-1 and maybe another 7-5-4-1, but we'll never know. Gonna send a message. Okay, well, while this chaos is happening, excuse for us to return to we can all agree the highlight of this viewing experience, King of Kong. Um, so Walter Day is clearly a kind of weird guy who thinks that the heights of video gaming bring you the same kind of transcendent joys that meditation can bring. Which, like, that I don't have a problem with that, but he's a clearly kind of weird guy who also thinks things like that. And he started the website Twin Galaxies, which is kind of the first here's where to post high scores in various video games, and we verify them. And we meet his, sidekick nerd. He's sort of like, I'm a big picture guy. I'm there, I'm watching, I'm into it. But actually verifying the records, I don't really do that. We go over to this other guy, and he's like, yeah, I have thousands and thousands of videotapes that have been sent in. I have to watch them all. I verify whether records seem legit or not. This is very important, and I am, committed to my role. They analogize themselves at one point to being the police of this world, but referee seems to be less bad analogy. Uh, so that's our first character, it's Walter Day. And we have this is going to be, high Donkey Kong scores, and we're going to need judging to it, which is kind of a hint of where this might go. The second character we meet is this, turns out very litigious, so I probably, not that this will ever be found, but is currently in various lawsuits with a popular the guy's name's Billy Mitchell. Currently in lawsuits with a popular speedrunning YouTube account that also is like a pickup artist, white supremacist type, so that guy sucks too. Um, but Billy Mitchell is this kind of loon. He's always very flat. He like stares right at the camera. He is not emotive, and he's always saying things that are about how spectacular he is, how he's the best at this, how, he brings it when it counts. That's what really separates, the wheat from the chaff. How he's just great at everything in life. He's amazing at video games, the most important thing. But he also has a, wife and family and a very successful business selling hot sauce. And we see him in a supermarket, like rearranging their hot sauce section so the stuff from his company is in the front, which is just deranged behavior. I think this game won't be happening because we cannot see the cards. But I don't really know what's happening. Maybe they are playing. We'll see. See what happens in a moment. But just this very flatly egotistical person. It's just very curious to watch because he doesn't like a lot of times when someone's building themselves up, they're very emotive in it and they're very trying to pull you in. And instead, he's like trying to make a one liner while seeming like I don't know how to phrase it right. All right, Deli plays his 5-6-5-1. We still have an unknown card. This is semi-closed. Huh. Well, from what I know is stuff, what would we try to do from the information we have? Remember, there's no plus wall. So the most natural setup, if you just want to set up in 5, is something like 2-6-6-3 in 5, which sets up 6-3-2-6 to have a same in 2, and 5-7-4-1 to have a plus in 4. And in general, I tend to not love 5 replies to starters, but I do want to say here one thing I like about this one, and this is often the case with 5 starters, or 5 replies, is it gets rid of numbers facing the action. If to set up in 5 stuff had to play 6-3-2-6, I would be like, I really think I might want to hold on to that card. But when you use 2-6-6-3, I'm just comfortable. I'm like, okay, if my hand is well built, I'm going to have enough power facing the action and still a fair amount of power facing away from the action. I should be able to do okay with this kind of move. Even though I have my skepticism of 5 starters. Have we learned what the card is? No, we have not. What else might we think of doing? Well, based on Deli's supercard, which is the highest numbers we see visible in his hand, he has a 6 in every direction except a 7 down. I would guess there is also a 7 up, just based like if you don't have more information, just assume some kind of symmetricality. Therefore, let's assume his supercard, his combined cards, is 7-6-7-6. That means we don't particularly have safety. I think also a thing about the way Stuff's hand has a lot of corners is it actually can make adjacent corners kind of clumsy. Because if you, for instance, go something, a big corner in 3, you're somewhat unlikely to be setting up 2. Now here he does. 1-5-5-6 means his 4-1-5-7 is 3. But for instance, he doesn't have a card that naturally, to my eyes, lands in 7. But 4-1-5-7 and 3 does have the downside that Deli has play in that square as well, in 2 as well. And you can easily run out of up power. Having those 2 5s facing down when you only have a 1-6 facing up means you're going to need your cards to line up pretty well. So if 4-1-5-7-3, 1-4-7-5-2, you put 6-3-2-6. This looks like it's getting really uncomfortable fast. You can take either 4 or 6, but not both. Now, maybe you can do a double setup. You can go in 5 and set up both 4 and 6. But if you can, I don't see it. Doesn't mean it's not there, but I'm a little skeptical that it's there. So in conclusion, I think something like 3 would be a kind of poor move, and I think adjacent corners just don't really fit this hand. So I'd be looking more at 5 captures immediately. Note Deli, as far as we can see, does not have a recapture in 2. So actually, maybe we should just be looking at like 6, 3, 2, 6, and 4. If Deli has a 7 to the left, what would that card be likely to be? Something like 1457 or 5417 kind of card, 5427. All right, he does go 5. Did I miss this setup? I did miss this as an alternate setup. I'm a little like fundamentally more skeptical of it because I thought this card had a little more play moving forward. You might say Cactuar has a 3 to the left and that'll be useful, but you look at Deli's hand, at least the parts of the hand I can see, and that 3 to the left doesn't seem very relevant. Have we been told in the chat what Deli's remaining card is? I haven't. Maybe we can open image in new tab. File not found. Kushinada, Persona 5. Okay. Well, we can go to watch games. We can go to view cards, decks, and figure out what card this is. So it's going to be a level 3 Kushinada. Coming soon. Sort of. Scroll too far. Wait. But Kushinada was played. Oh! They both have 5741 in their hand. Okay. But there's no plus wall. So what was Deli's plan? There's no plus wall. What was Deli's plan if stuff took it? Was it just to play Kushinada safely in 7? I feel like stuff should have a lot of decent options there. Now, I'm not sure if stuff knew the cards. This is a very weird game of Triple Triad happening. But I think that means best for stuff would have been just to take in 4, unless there's a big setup in 8. But even if there is a big setup in 8, you're probably okay. Because they go 8, you block 7, they go 5, they combo stuff. You probably either have 6, 3, 2, 6, and 9, or no, you've used that. But you probably have 4, 1, 5, 7, and 2 kind of thing. And I don't know. It's hard for it to be that bad. Maybe it is. But I think 4 was an appealing option given those cards. I like taking stuff. The other thing is, if the opponent has no recapture, if you don't take it immediately, often the best thing to do is an adjacent corner, facing the side the opponent can recapture. That sometimes works as well. Doesn't make a ton of sense to me here, though. Anyway, 4 would have been an interesting option. Now, if we're Deli, we know his last card is 5741. So 5741 and 9 is the big setup move. Just saying 1475 has lots of combo squares. Completely gives up on 2, but Deli doesn't have 2 anyway. Which is pretty uncomfortable. I don't really like this spot for Deli. I just assumed he'd have, recaptures. One possible move is to play 5741 and 4, because stuff has an up weakness. So stuff's only capture is 6, 3, 2, 6, and 7, and you can combo that back. Stuff will likely go in 2. But maybe you have play there? Maybe not. I don't know. I think this is pretty uncomfortable for Deli. I didn't love Stuff's move at first look, and it's still hard for me to think about when I have to visualize a card I can't see. But I think Deli's starter not having recaptures in 2 is just fundamentally making a difficult game. One other thing you can do that's kind of interesting in these spots, because Deli has combo play in 4, is Deli could go in 3. If Deli went, not sure which card exactly, but something in 3, it kind of can make the opponent go 2, which is a square you don't want, and leave you with play in 4 and 6, which are squares you do want. So I think 3 would have been an interesting option. I did not really consider 8. But if we think, where is Stuff's threat? Stuff's threat was to go in 4 because Deli doesn't have 2. This sort of creates compensation against 4 because anytime they go 4, you get the free square of 7. And note that Deli made sure to be set up against any number facing down in 7. 6336 or 5741 can take anything 6 or lower, and 6336 has 6s covered as well. So Stuff's threat was to go in 4, and Deli went, how can I cover 4? This seems logical. I'm really having trouble following this game. It's very weird. So let's return to a King of Kong. Yeah, Billy Mitchell's this incredibly strange character. I don't know, actually. I felt like I had so much to say about it, and then I already talked about it at someone. And then I thought I'll just talk about it more, but now I don't know how much I have to say. But it's this very curious thing of this guy. He has minions. Like everyone in this town around this arcade seems to always be on the phone with him and following his instructions. One person at one point goes like, I've been told what to do. I'm gonna do exactly what he told me to do. And everyone's like, yes, he's gonna do exactly what Bill. It's just, it's not like you don't feel that culty when watching it, but you do feel this real weirdness about how everyone behaves. And like there's a point in where they're in a diner and they're calling Billy Mitchell, and Billy Mitchell is sort of deciding whether to go or not, but he doesn't want to go if the person who's kind of his rival in the movie is there. So he has them name every person who's in the diner so he'll know whether that guy's there. And then as they're naming people, that guy walks in. So he doesn't show, and you see his car looping around, not going to the diner. It's just so weird. It's so weird. And the guy who's the challenger just seems like this very innocuously pleasant guy who's, just wants to compete at something, and like life has kind of been rough on him, but he's really good on Donkey Kong. Not like horrible to him, just like little badnesses, kind of like you get laid off as you buy a house and now you can't really afford it and you're having trouble getting a job and stuff like that. Not like this is the worst tragedy to ever happen, but like this must be hard to deal with. This sucks. And now you're trying to compete at Donkey Kong. And the whole thing that Billy Mitchell stresses and that the records keeper stress is records are more believable when they're live. We have to verify records, but if you do it live in front of lots of people, that's the real thing. And so this guy comes to their town, which is in like New Hampshire, from like Washington, the other side of the country, not DC, but Washington on the West Coast, the state, and sets a record at their arcade, sets the record for Donkey Kong after they decide his previous record breaking doesn't count for very suspicious reasons. So he goes, okay, I'll prove it. I'll go there live. The guy comes there. He proves it. He does it live. And then a guy shows up sent by Billy Mitchell, who lives there and, of course, could show up himself. Again, this is so weird. And shows a tape that is so suspicious that allegedly shows Billy Mitchell getting a higher score. And this tape is got weird flashes covering score at various points. And the challenger guy's like, could we see that again? That looked weird. And they're like, no, one-time viewing only. And you're like, okay, so the scorekeepers have been like very meticulous about record keeping and checking everything. And they've been like, live matters more. And this is the weirdest tape. And they dismiss the challenger's tape. Surely they'll dismiss this weird tape. But no, they're like, this tape, it seems legit. We like this tape because we are in the Billy Mitchell world. And we just exist to try to make him feel good about himself. What a weird time. Eventually, the challenger does take the world record officially, but that's kind of past the movie. It's in the like credits at the end, and also all the people doing the record keeping end up resigning over this kind of being a scandal in the larger world, or in the larger video game world. Very weird movie. I recommend it. It was fun. Curious. Okay, Stuff Takes Two. Now, Deli, we believe, has 5741. So it's pretty hard for him to land his 1475. That card really seems like a dead card. I mean, this still looks really, really not good for Deli. Now, I will note. So my instinct, the first thing I check if I'm Deli here is 1475 and 9 because I need to get that out of my hand, and so I'm interested in entering a formation. I would also note playing in 4 can be very plausible here, though 1475 and 4 is sadly not safe. And 1475 and 3 shouldn't be dismissed, but the first move I check is 1475 and 9. And you have 5741 and 6336. But I think that means that Stuff should be able to block 6, going up 7-3. If Deli wants to take back, he has anything back, he has to use 6-3-3-6 and 3. That makes it 6-4. And then Stuff can go, can block 4 with 2-6-6-3, and 5-7-4-1 can't flip that. So it's pretty easy to see situations that get bad here. Maybe that means you hold on to 1475 and you play 5741 and 9, an idea we sort of had in mind earlier. That way you're down 6-4, but 1475 is going to get a capture on the right side. There's some combo potential because Stuff has the combo in 4, but if you keep 6-3-3-6, you can combo back from 7. So if you go 5-7-4-1 and 9, you're down 6-4, but basically, if the right side is played first, you're either still going to be down 6-4 if they go in 6, or you're going to make it 5-5 if they go in 3. And 6-3-3-6 is guaranteed to go even on the right, so maybe that ties? There's not much combo. There's some combo potential. This might not work, because what I think Stuff can do is start in 7, and then when Deli goes 4, Stuff can now take the same in 6, and that'll flip extra cards because that'll flip through 8. Does it matter that it flips through 8? I can't count at all. I think it does matter. Yeah, so I think if Deli goes 9, I may have been saying 7. When I'm saying the Z, I meant to say 9. I'm saying this so badly. I think 5-7-4-1 and 9 maybe loses to. Ooh, what would be the exact card though? Because other things don't flip 8, but you don't need to flip 8. So like 6-3-2-6 in 7. But then it's still 6-4. So Deli could go 1-4-7-5 and 3 there, and he probably holds. So maybe 5-7-4-1 and 9 holds. All right, I didn't get to this move, but I was on 5-7-4-1 and 9 was my best guess at holding. So this, of course, allows 6-3-2-6 to land in 6. That makes it 7-3. And then the, okay, 6-3-3-6 still has the left. And 5-1-4-7 allegedly has the right. Does that work? Man, this is really screwing with my head. I don't envy the people playing this. I wouldn't want to play a game like this. I'm having so much trouble recalculating and rethinking. All the mistakes in calculation of like trying to play a card twice in the calculation where you like are like, okay, I'll play this here and then down the road I'll play that here because you see it in your hand. All that kind of thinking is just so much worse in me right now. I think it would be easier for me if I couldn't see any of the cards in Deli's hand and I had to picture them all. But the being able to see some of them and not others is just so Weird. So it's really important that if 6326 lands in 6, that Dudley has exactly 5741, because if 5 has flipped, that combos through 8, but 5741 has this plus and 9 that flips back. So I do think this holds for Deli. At least I haven't seen a win yet. But also, my brain is gone. They were joking before it that my brain has always been gone, which sure fair, but like having a lot of trouble thinking through this game. Isn't it strange that Kushinada didn't work in Deli's hand, but did work in Stuff's hand? Now, Deli has never flipped Kushinada, so if the red side of this 5714 and 5, if the red side of this card flips, if I do that, do you see it? No. Okay. If 5741 flips to red, do you think it'll just like disappear and start glitching the square? Because there is a decent chance it flips over the remaining couple moves of the game. I'm really curious. Yeah, so to summarize King of Kong, I would describe it as we have this incredibly strange person who has clearly set a bunch of video game records, allegedly is still setting them, though it seems very suspicious, uh, who refuses to compete, even though all his quotes are about competing. And they have incredibly damning quotes from his family who just cheerfully say things about him like that aren't supposed to be negative, but oh man, are they dark. And you have an organizing body that is now being sort of verified by Guinness Book of World Records that is clearly just trying to defend this guy's records and accepts things from him with almost no proof and has incredibly high demands of anyone else doing anything that might threaten him. And then you have this guy who's just like also really good at Donkey Kong who just wants to compete and it just isn't really given an opportunity to. Very interesting. It's sort of the opposite of Tetris because as soon as you dive into the Tetris stuff at all, it's just so stunningly wholesome the whole way. And this is so like shady and weird and uncomfortable. Very different feeling. All right, he's picked up one of the 6326. Yeah, man, Dudley really lined up the combos when he played 2663 and 8. I feel this whole game was pretty shaky from him, but he had a good feel of just everything's going to line up such that I can flip whatever I need to at the end. But this is definitely a stuff favored game. Now, first turn tends to be bad in SPC rule sets, so I wouldn't be like, wow, how, you know. It's not a rule set where if you get in trouble in first turn, that means you're in trouble in the series. But I think this was definitely a stuff favored first game where Dudley needed something on move 5 to hold the tie. God, this is so weird. So 5 never flipped there. I really want 5 to flip. I want to see what happens if 5 flips. But I guess no, stuff could go. He's gonna play 4 with his 4157, but yeah, I guess he doesn't have a way to tie. So okay, 5 will never flip. That's a shame. They've let me down. I just wanted to know what would happen. What a strange game. Yeah, they are saying this was annoying to play. I agree. Yeah, I would have rage quit, and by rage quit I mean I would have been like, okay, this isn't working. Let's time out and try again or something like that. I would not have played this game out. Now, I realize that can be a little unfair in the same way that stips, that like showing your hand when the other person is broken stips can be unfair because you have shown information that they can now adjust to, and they now have to, but have to change their hand. Um, so I think in those spots they should only be allowed to swap out the offending cards, but it also just like it feels kind of bad because if you were hoping to catch them with something, they now have some time to think about it or whatever. And like, yeah, it's just it always feels crummy, I think there. And I think there's no way to not feel crummy here, but this is if the site's glitching and you can't see a card, you yeah. I would not blame anyone for being like I will pass on this one. Not that it is. Also, though, should be noted. Unlike when someone breaks steps, no one here did anything wrong. The offending card was a card in both players' hand, right? And also, I think none of us knew this card would do this. Oh, strange. Strange game. Send a few messages there. But yeah, curious that it appears possibly, though again we didn't get it checked. I guess because I don't think I really have time enough for another game here. Maybe I do. It's borderline. Let's pop open the solver and take a quick look there and just see how dangerous did this look. So the rule set is SPC. That's important. And Deli had 5651, 2663, 1475, 5741, and 6336. Stuff had 5741, 1556, 6326, 4157, and 2663. Play game. Ooh, I can switch you over to that view while we figure out what the hell's going on here. What a weird series. Okay, what do I do? Go to this, click this, and it loads. All right, so Deli goes here, and I'll tell it to start dumping eval. Stuff goes here, and Deli goes in 8. And stuff does not have a win. So good holds by Deli in 8. Stuff goes 2. I bet Deli has a few ties. Is 4. Wow. Okay. I think Deli's move in 8 might have been the only tie then. One tie out of. Okay, we'll look back at that in a sec. So Deli played here, which ties. I was thinking maybe here, which ties. It likes Deli's tie more. You'll notice there are more losses against it. Okay, so there were a couple ways to tie this position, but quite dangerous. But in this position, I'm going to run it again just to make sure. I think it said one move ties, and I think then it must mean Deli's move is the only move that tied here. Yeah, and if you ask it to play the one tying move, it was not a move I was considering, so this is not a game I can be like, yes, I would have done this. Deli found the only tying move. Incredible work. Yeah, I wasn't considering 8, but he really aligned all those combos so well to cover that endgame. Okay, so there was a winning move allegedly for stuff against this starter. And we're looking for wins. Yeah, was taking winning. question. And it looks like it was. My other question was this a better way to attack the starter from 5? We know it can't be better because we already know there was a winning move, but there's only one winning move, and that this move only allowed one tie, so this move can't allow fewer ties without being winning. As you can see, this move allowed 8 ties. So Stuff did play the better setup move in 5, but I do think the best move, very clearly the best move, was just to take. And then the question, I think, is what do you do here? And the win is... Wow! Okay, well, in practice, I would not have won this game. I would have played the correct first move, but I would not have followed it up well. That is remarkable. Wow. Okay. So I don't want to get comboed. I assume here you're going to same me. Yeah. I can't do that. So what if I just do like this? Are you just double taking in 5? And I just have nothing? Wow. Alright, that's cool. What a cool move in 9. Anywho, so this was a bad starter. The unrecapturable corner starter is often a problem. Kind of remarkable how to actually punish it, though. Much more difficult than it looks like. As was, Stuff played a move that put Deli under tremendous pressure, almost certainly the second best move, or at least tied second best. Maybe there are other moves that give Deli only one tie. But if a bunch of moves give only one tie, this is almost certainly the best move, and I will tell you why. If, obviously this is not a good move, but if this only gave one tie, it would most likely be you do something in 4 and you block 4. But if 5 only gives one tie, it gives such a range of possible moves that that one tie is going to be really hard to find. Because after, or say like there was one tie after this, it's going to be this. Like there's just not that many moves to check that it could be. Maybe it's some setup in 8, but it's almost certainly this. If there's one tie after this move. If there's one tie after this move, it could be so many different things. And so that Deli found this is really remarkable. Yeah, fantastic move. And Stuff did mention this was specifically a great move, which means I think he recognized how good his position was and how well Deli mitigated that. Okay, we're gonna see. I'm gonna go to the next game in another video. I probably won't be able to do the whole thing.